What's going on, everybody? Good morning and happy Wednesday. Already making a turn on this week. DK Show up on the air on your radio dials of 105.1 FM and 790 AM. Also available online, sportstalk1051.com. Got your smart speakers streaming up over there. Video stream also up and rolling on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. Appreciate you making us part of your starts this early Monday morning of March 6th. What do we got on the good old game plan for us here this morning? Hey, we're going to talk. We're 1 week away from the new league year in the NFL. Free agency officially opens, although we know we're probably, most likely, going to be hearing about player signing here and there because of the quote unquote legal tampering that is just one of the more ridiculous things in sports, but it is what it is at this point in time. So, 1 week away from contracts becoming official for free agents, trades becoming official, all that good stuff. So, and that used to be the day too, like when Twitter / the X would just kind of like almost break, you know. It's like everybody's like, oh, weird. As soon as it opens up at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, all these deals all of a sudden just magically happened right away within seconds. So now with the legal tampering, they've kind of trickled out a little bit more. So it's not as crazy as it used to be, like it would have been on Wednesday at 3 o'clock. But nonetheless, everything becomes official at that point in time. So we'll talk a little bit about it. We'll continue our free agency primer now that we got a little bit better of an idea too of maybe some potential other free agents out there after the franchise tag deadline passed yesterday. Who is available out there? I think there was some decisions made by teams out there that potentially could impact the Packers or maybe change some of their thinking a little bit here too. I'm going to throw a name out there. I'm going to throw a name out there, and I want your reaction. Saquon Barkley. Now, before you just like start throwing things and calling me names here, let me give you a little bit. Just I'm not saying I'm pounding the table here, but just hold on a second here now. Remember last year, because I'm an Aaron Jones fan too, and I want Aaron Jones back, and I want Aaron Jones to retire as a Packer. Let's just get that out of the way here. But remember last year, Jonathan Taylor, that rumor that the Packers were interested in him. Factor that in, and at that point in time, they were going to have to give Jonathan Taylor a big contract. So that tells me they were willing to do that. He was holding out because he wanted a contract. And if you remember last year before the trade deadline, Jay Glazer apparently reported that the Packers had interest in acquiring Saquon Barkley or potentially having those conversations. And that was when the Packers were kind of poo-poo. So now he's a free agent. Could they maybe make a run at it? What are your opinions on that? Pairing him up with Jones, with Aaron Jones. Could it be? Here's the thing too, like when I think about that, I here's my thoughts on it really quick, and we'll deep dive into it when we get to our primer here in a sec. But if they were interested in him, if they were going to be aggressive in trying to sign him, I think this would indicate. I think Aaron Jones is back. I know they're trying to work on a little bit of a pay cut, but I think it would mean one more year of Aaron Jones. You're signing Saquon probably for what, 2, 3. He probably wants as long of a deal as possible, but you're probably signing him for a couple of years at least. But you're still, so you'd have one more year of Aaron Jones and you'd have another extra year of Saquon. But I think you still have to look potentially at the draft for a younger guy over there too. So, but I don't know. I don't think it's, if this would have been, if the Jonathan Taylor thing didn't happen last year and the Saquon Barkley rumor from Jay Glazer, I'd probably have the same reaction I think a lot of us would have when we first heard that Jonathan Taylor rumor last year, like, ha, yeah, okay, whatever, or really confused, like, huh? Why? But I think if we take those reports to be true, or to say there was a little smoke there was a little something there. I think you have to wonder, is Green Bay going to maybe look at that as an option? I don't know. It wouldn't be my first free agent signing if I was back, but I, something to think about here a little bit. Just throwing it out there. But there was a couple other moves made yesterday too that kind of wonder if it alters Green Bay's approach to the offseason. And I posted this up on our Facebook group page, Man Cave Conversations. Request to join in if you want to join in the convo over there. How aggressive do you want Green Bay to be this free agency period? And do you think that, hey, they've got a window now? Last year, we didn't think they had a window. We didn't know what the heck was going to go on. We didn't know what was going on. We didn't know what Jordan Love was going to be like, or I think we were pleasantly surprised and happy with how well the rookie tight ends played and the receivers and such. Do you think that window's back open right now for Green Bay? Do you think it's right now? It's like, okay, all right, window back open. Let's go after it. What do you think? So we'll hit that up here coming up in just a little bit. We got some hoops chat. The Bucks are back in action tonight as they now begin a West Coast trip. They'll be taking on the Golden State Warriors. Late game, tip time, around 9 o'clock, although we know they never start on time, so be a little bit after 9. But so we got that. Middleton already ruled out. Giannis questionable, dealing with that tendonitis. So we'll get a better idea, obviously, tonight, right before the game and such. But we got a big game on the college side of things. UConn and Marquette. Number 2, UConn Huskies. Number 8, Marquette Golden Eagles. Marquette, if they pick up a win, you'd think that solidifies them at the least, at the minimum, as a 2 seed in the tournaments. Maybe, depending on conference tournaments, but if they win, maybe still an outside shot as a 1. Might be stretching it a little bit, but nonetheless, a big game in Milwaukee tonight between UConn and Marquette. So we'll talk a little hoops. Throw that up on there as well. Brewers returned to spring training, or I should say picked up their spring training game yesterday. They did fall to the Giants 13-8. Rhys Hoskins, though, hitting a towering shot yesterday. Got everybody all excited and such. The Brewers, couple games going on today. A little split squad action where they've got the Reds and the Guardians. So we'll talk some baseball, throw in some spring training chat and such as well. We got a little classes in session. We'll hit that up a little past 7 o'clock. Also, another edition of the Business of Sports brought to you by Security Financial Bank. We'll hit that up at about, let's say shortly past 8 o'clock this morning. So plenty to get to here. Let's just jump right into it. All right. So we are a week away from the new league year, also 50 days away from the NFL draft, but 1 week away from the new league year. We know we're going to hear more about, players agreeing to teams probably starting on Monday, less than a week away. So I threw out a couple questions to you. How aggressive do you want your team to be? And hey, if you're a Bears fan, if you're a Lions fan, you're a Vikings fan, or you're a Cowboys fan, I don't care, 49ers, how aggressive. I'd love to get different thoughts from different fan bases, but how aggressive do you want your team to be this free agency? Green Bay, did things maybe change for you a little bit based off of how the Packers looked and finished off the season? Do you think that window is back open? Are you of the mindset, hey, if you got a quarterback that you think is pretty darn good quarterback, that window is always open? And we'll highlight a few more players as potential targets for maybe the Packers. I know we went through some safeties yesterday. There's a boatload of other safeties. There's a couple other safeties I want to hit up here Again, not going to hit up everybody. I know a couple people reached out and said, "Will you miss this guy?" Not going to do everybody in one day. I'm trying to spread it out here a little bit. So we got a couple more here, but I also want to. I mean, I can't believe I'm actually asking this because back in the day I would have been like, "Ha, yeah, whatever." But Saquon, could he? I don't. Yeah, like it's just still weird for me to say that, but if we believe Glazer, and he's usually pretty smart, and if Green Bay did call to inquire about him at the trade deadline, if they were interested in Jonathan Taylor in preseason when he was holding out, can we completely shut the door on that one? I don't know. I don't know. Be kind of cool though, wouldn't it be? It's kind of like fantasy football and little Madden over there. But again, takes two to tango at that point in time as well. Like Saquon would have to be like, hey, you got to split some carries with Aaron Jones and such. So he may not want that. I know Texans are like the hot team out there that potentially could get him. But just throwing it out there. Okay. Just throwing it out there. Your thoughts. All right, let's get her going here. Pitter patter. Start to hit me up on some texts on that Shoe Doctors bullpen line. 715-830-1912 on that Shoe Doctors bullpen line. We'll get things a rolling here this Wednesday morning of March 6th. We're going to change it up here a bit and chat a little football to get the blood flowing here this morning. All right, grab your coffee, grab your beverage, whatever you got, and let's hit it up. We'll be back in just a few minutes. Perks. I love perks. You love perks. We all love perks. And one of the best perks you can find in the Chippewa Valley is Hy-Vee Perks. Hy-Vee Perks is a free and easy program for Hy-Vee shoppers. Access exclusive perks prices, earn discounts on gas when you purchase designated products at Hy-Vee, and save more with exclusive deals, offers, and rewards. Best part, it's free to join, man. Not a part of Hy-Vee Perks yet? No worries. Just stop by Hy-Vee in Eau Claire and get signed up today. And start taking advantage of the best shopping deals in the Chippewa Valley right now with Hy-Vee and Hy-Vee Perks. Reminder, we will be over there at Hy-Vee on the 28th, March 28th, for our opening day party, starting around 11:30. It's also National Something on a Stick Day. So they're looking for some ideas. Our good friends over there are looking for some ideas. So if you got any creative suggestions for something to put on a stick, let me know and I'll pass it along to the fine folks at Hy-Vee. Let's get things rolling here this morning. Coming up on the leadoff here, I want to open it up talking a little football, if you will. We're a week away from the official league opening, or the new season opening day. Well, not really opening day, but league year. That's what I'm trying to say. The league year. All right. Yesterday, we had the deadline come and pass for teams to put franchise tags on their players. And some decisions may be kind of surprising. Some others, not really. I mean, I don't think there was anything too shocking out there. But now that that deadline has come to pass, we can add some more potential free agents to our list. And I know I mentioned it the other day. Greg Rosenthal, NFL.com. He's got his list of top 101 NFL free agents, updated, adjusted a little bit with players, getting the franchise tag attached to them, kind of like, for example, Winfield from Tampa Bay. Sorry, Bucks fan or Packers fans, but he ain't going anywhere and he ain't coming to Green Bay. But then you kind of throw in a guy like a Saquon Barkley. So, does some of these moves potentially change or alter Green Bay's off-season approach here a little bit? So let's kind of jump into, I guess, a little bit of a primer, free agency primer again. So the other day we talked about a few safeties, and I feel like when you look at this market, we know Green Bay needs not just one, but probably a couple safeties. Like, if I were a betting person, and this is a dangerous way to get into this because I'm not, it is still Green Bay and you don't really know what to expect. But I feel like Green Bay and Goody are at least going to bring in one veteran free agent safety. Feel like there's at least going to be one, and maybe even doubling up in the draft, or at least one in a draft, fairly high in a draft. I mean, would they potentially bring back Rudy Ford? They could. Jonathan Owens, they could. I think Darnell Savage is probably bye-bye at this point. But knowing how important or crucial or critical, whatever we want to term it, the safety position is in Jeff Hafley's defense, I think it's almost a foregone conclusion that we are going to get one in free agency, get one in a draft. Kind of similar to when they brought in Adrian Amos and then they drafted Darnell Savage over there. So we highlighted, we took a look at a few different safeties yesterday. Xavier McKinney is, he's I think every Packers fan's number one targets on this free agent list. We don't need to, keep revisiting that one, if you will. Although I will say a little bit of if you're looking for maybe some potential nuggets here, Xavier McKinney did spend a year at Alabama with new defensive pass game coordinator Derek Ansley. If you're looking for a little bit of connection there, got a connection there. Another connection, though, is another safety out there, and that's Fuller, Jordan Fuller from the Rams. What's the connection, you may be asking? When he was at Ohio State, his defensive coordinator for a year in 2019 was Jeff Hafley. So you have a little bit of a connection potentially there as well. If you're looking to maybe bring in guys who are familiar with this style of defense or familiar with, the coaching staff and vice versa, does that factor in? I think it factors in a little bit. I don't think it's maybe the number one tell-all thing, but when you factor in Xavier McKinney's got a little bit of experience with their new defensive pass game coordinator, a guy who, his background is defensive backs, Derek Ansley. I think there's a little bit something there. Then Jordan Fuller, who's still only 26. He's a safety. Played a year under your new defensive coordinator when he was at Ohio State. Fuller, team captain, kind of like Xavier McKinney. This is a guy that I would be A-okay with if they brought in here too. If they gave him a deal. Might be a little bit cheaper. He probably is going to be a little bit cheaper than what McKinney is going to command on the free agent market. But I do think one tip, if there's one thing we've learned from Brian Gutekunst when it comes to free agency, he wants guys who have been available, have been healthy, have played a lot of games. Because you go back to when he signed Preston, Za'Darius, Adrian, etc. What was kind of a common theme with those players? They were guys that didn't really miss a lot of time due to injury. They were guys that were available. They had a history of playing a ton of games. That has continued with Preston Smith. I think Preston Smith maybe missed 1 or 2 games since he's been with the Packers. I think that's a common thing, or that's a theme that Goody is, I would think, is still kind of looking at. Is like when he looks at all these safeties, I think one of the check boxes, or one of those boxes that he wants to check off is like, okay, how many games have they played? Like, are they a reliable player out there? Do they have a history of staying healthy? You look at Fuller. He played 17 games last year. 2022, only played in 3. But in that 2021 Super Bowl season, played all 60. Had 113 tackles that year too. So I think that has got to be an important thing when it comes to these free agents, whether it's a safety, whether it's a lineman, or whoever it may be, linebacker. I think that's got to be one thing that Goody is going to continue to look at. A couple other safeties. If you're maybe looking at some quote unquote cheaper options out there, maybe some options, maybe you're bringing in 2 free agent safeties and you're still going to draft them, but you're going to start off with 2 veterans. Go down a little bit on this list, and there's I think a couple of names that could be some intriguing options. One, a guy who's familiar with this potential style of defense. He spent the last couple of years with the New York Jets and Robert Saleh. Jordan Whitehead, safety over there, 26 years old. Spent some time with the Bucks. He's a hard-hitting safety. Last year, 4 picks for the Jets. We know Hafley's got a little bit of experience, with the 49ers, coaching under Robert Saleh, that style of defense. But going back to, you want a guy who's available. You want a guy who's shown to stay on the field. You look at Jordan Whitehead, who's been in the league since 2018. He's played double-digit games every single season. 15, 14, 16, 14, 17, 17. Available. Accountability. Now I know, a little bit older you get, maybe that kind of tends to go down, maybe more susceptible to injury and such. But again, could he be a little bit of a cheaper option or was it a couple years ago? He signed a 2-year deal with the Jets. $7 million. I think it was like a 2-year, $14.5 million deal. Say it's something similar to that. another guy, and this one would be potentially a little bit of a riskier one. But he's got familiarity with Derek Ansley, their new defensive pass game coordinator. A little bit of an unknown. And that's Gilman, Alohi Gilman from the Chargers. And why I say he's maybe a little bit of a risk is because he had a career year last year. He was a former 6th-round pick, finally got an opportunity to be a starter last year and took advantage of it. If you look at Pro Football Focus grades, okay, if that's one of those top ones that you look at, he put up an 86.1 grade. That ranked 7th among safeties. And he had an 89.2 coverage grade, which ranked 5th. He also placed 2nd in pass breakups on almost 100 fewer coverage snaps than the player he tied with. The safety a lot of Packers fans wanted, Antoine Winfield Jr. He also finished with a run defense of 75.2, according to Pro Football Focus. Compared to his couple years before, huge jumps. Now, is that in correlation because he finally got a chance to be a starter? Could it be he's entering the final year and, putting up motivated that way? Oh, no, right? But he had a heck of a season last year, and he's got familiarity with with the Packers' new defensive pass game coordinator, Derek Ansley, who was his defensive coordinator last year. Connections. If you're looking at some connections there, there's options from this safety group. And there's, I think, a chance if Green Bay wanted to, if they wanted to bring in a guy, or excuse me, a couple of different maybe guys. One where like it's a Xavier McKinney and you're giving him a 4 or 5 year deal and you're paying him to be one of the top safeties out there. And then you know what? We'll go down a little bit further, bring in another safety, double dip it, kind of like what they did with Preston and maybe Rashawn, or excuse me, Preston and Zadarius. We're going to double dip in that safety market. We're going to bring in, 2 safeties, maybe one, like a McKinney who's going to get a boatload of cash, and then maybe it's a guy like Jordan Whitehead or Gilman, but we're still going to draft. Could you? Honestly, I could feel like Green Bay doing an approach like that where they signed Zadarius and they signed Preston, then they also drafted Rashawn Gary. They got to get this safety position figured out here. And I think when you look at the free agent market, you've got options out there, but also in a draft, you got potential if your safety's not there at the back end of the first round. I know Cooper is a big one out there from Iowa. Could there be a guy in the second round, a Kitchens or whoever? But I wouldn't be surprised at all to see Green Bay maybe double dip at this safety position. Just to mix it up here a little bit because we've been pounding the table so much on safeties. Let's switch it over here a little bit to, because I think one position that is going to be important for Green Bay to figure out this offseason is also that other linebacker. Assuming McDuffie's going to be the Mike linebacker, the middle linebacker. You got Quay Walker that's going to be the weak side linebacker. Who's going to be that Sam? Who's going to be that Sam linebacker? And that's where I kind of go to some of the moves made by yesterday as maybe some options. And we're looking for connections, right? Well, the Dolphins yesterday released linebacker Jerome Baker. clearing away $9.8 million in cap space. The reason I bring this guy's name up is Campanelli, the new linebackers coach for the Packers. Where did he come from? You guessed it, Miami. Connections. Could that be an option where the Packers maybe look at like, oh, okay, so Baker's now available. We've got his former linebacker coach with us right now. We need another linebacker. Is that a match made right there? Could that be a potential option? Possibly. Again, when you look at Baker, you want to talk about being on the field ever since 2018? Double-digit games. 16, 16, 16, 16, 17. Last year, 13. But he's been a solid contributor throughout his career. That could be a potential option over there too, because I do feel like, we've been talking so much about offensive line depth and safeties that I think if you're going to go to a base 4-3, and I get it, 4-2-5, nickel, all that stuff, there's going to be variations. You still need a little bit more depth at that linebacker spot. I'm operating under the assumption that Devondre Campbell's going to be released, and I could be completely wrong on that, but I'm just going to operate under that assumption. So could you get a guy like a Baker, maybe on a 2-year deal for a few $1,000,000 here? But he can come in. Linebackers coach is familiar with him already. Kind of got a little veteran leadership there. I wouldn't be opposed to something like that. But I think linebacker, whether it's in a draft, day 2, day 3, or a free agent out there, that's something that Green Bay also has to address. And I look at a guy like a Jerome Baker, who potentially could be that option. Could a guy like Jordan Brooks from Seattle be an option? Could be. He's kind of been inconsistent through his young career, but he has shown a lot of good stuff, shown some potential over there as well. If Green Bay wanted to lock up a younger guy, maybe, would they go that route? But don't be surprised if Green Bay goes out there and tries to find another veteran linebacker, off the ball linebacker here. Could it be a could it be a Drew Tranquil from Kansas City? Guy was kind of one of those cog guys, great role players for that Kansas City defense. Not bad in coverage either. Could it be, going to staying with Kansas City, but, Willie Gay Jr.? Could he be another option? So, Josie Jewell. There is a deep market of off-ball linebackers for this free agency class too. This is where I feel like if Green Bay is going to be aggressive, going back to the question I had asked a little bit earlier, how do you want your team to be aggressive in free agency? For the Packers sense, do you want them to be aggressive in free agency this year? And I just feel like the needs that this team has, you've got a class that's, deep in safeties from the free agent market, deep in off-ball linebackers in the free agent market. Options out there. Because I feel like, with the draft, we're all having fun with mock drafts right now. I've done the simulators. I've done how it all kind of plays out. And I'll tell you right now, it's like, man, I could go with an offensive lineman. I could go with a safety, wherever it goes. Do you go with a linebacker in first round? I want to see Green Bay plug in some holes via free agency and then utilize the draft to create more depth or fill in those other holes potentially there. If you've got the opportunity to bring in a safety and an off-ball linebacker, do that. That doesn't mean necessarily you can cross off that need on the draft, but I just feel like with that linebacker, with that safety position where you need another off-ball linebacker, you need some safety depth. You've got those two position groups that have some pretty darn good depth at this year that I feel like Green Bay has to take advantage of that. They have to take advantage of that, especially now with how the season ended last year, with the momentum, with the pressure. Like, okay, expectations now. You don't got any more leeway. You were maybe a couple plays away from getting to the NFC Championship game. You surpassed boatloads of expectations this year. Expectations are grown. There's nothing wrong with that. Goals now are championships again. Wasn't that long of an off year. Really wasn't an off year. So I want for a time where you've got these needs of a safety and those linebackers, and you've got options on that free agency market now, take advantage of that. That's what I want to see. And then use the draft to create that depth. Now, Saquon Barkley, going back to that question. Would you like to see him in the green and gold? Now, if it were me, I don't think it should be a priority A. I think I would like them to grab a safety or two and another linebacker, another off-ball linebacker, Sam linebacker. But the other part of me is like, dude, that would be so fun to see Saquon and Aaron Jones in the same backfield helping out Jordan Love. And, you've got young receivers and tight ends. Maybe you can afford it a little bit because you're not paying, big contracts to your other offensive playmakers. It would be fun, right? And I don't think you could completely shut the door on it if we go back to what the reports were, that Green Bay was interested in Jonathan Taylor and apparently interested in Saquon Barkley at the draft deadline. And I think if there's one thing that showed this past year, how important a running back is in this system. They missed Aaron Jones when he was hurt. They missed him a lot. And when he got back, he was one of the main reasons why that team had the success at the end of the season that they did and in the postseason. A lot of it had to do with Aaron Jones and the way he was playing. But this was also a year or two where he missed a lot of time. Could that factor in their decision? Be like, hey, we need to we know how much Aaron Jones means to this team. He's still got a lot of talent, but we also maybe need to watch some snaps. He can't be a bell cow running back, can't be that guy that gets the majority of the carries. We gotta split that up. And how about adding another playmaker type like a Saquon Barkley, where those two sharing the load a little bit? It'd be fun. And I don't think you could completely shut the door on it based off what we've heard. It wouldn't necessarily be my first one. Would I be mad if they did it? No. But I don't think you could shut that door. I do think if we look at the signs, if we look at those hints, they really want to build up that running back depth. They know how important a running back is, a versatile running back too. A running back that, isn't just going to be a power runner. You want him utilized in the passing game. Saquon does that really well. Saquon would fit in this offensive system. Be a lot of fun to watch. So in the past, we would scoff at that idea. Ha! Ain't happening. I don't know if you can right now. I have my doubts whether he's going to do it, whether he would sign there, and whether Green Bay would be uber aggressive to try to bring him over. But I wouldn't be surprised if we hear the report that, hey, Green Bay's in contact. They're trying to, bring him into Green Bay for a visit and all that. Don't be surprised if you hear that. Not anymore. All right, let's take a quick break. We'll finish up the first hour. We'll be back in just a few minutes. Spring cleaning, an annual tradition, maybe we all kind of dread. When I think of spring cleaning, I think of dusting, washing the windows, mopping floors, dreading looking under what's under Hudson's bed. This year, though, let's have a little fun with spring cleaning. Let's really leave our mark. Let's get some new floors this spring from Carpet City Flooring Center in Eau Claire. Hey, the way I look at it, let's go big, baby. Let's replace that carpet in your living room so you don't have to hide those spill stains with fake plants or other end tables, or you know what I mean. Or update that kitchen floor that is completely out of style. It's time, people. So just head on over to Carpet City Flooring Center in Eau Claire and check out all the different options of flooring that are out there. Then Carpet City Flooring Center will work with you to set up the install of your new floors, and boom, spring cleaning is in the books. You really want to make your home feel clean this spring? Spring on into Carpet City Flooring Center and look at getting a new floor for your home to make your home look even more amazing. All right, let's go through some of the comments on the Facebook group and such with the Packers making cap space. I like to see them be aggressive, but not too aggressive that they hurt themselves in the future. That's from John. Brian saying that Xavier McKinney would be a huge help in the secondary and is still very young. Dark horse that could be an immediate impact, but would cost us quite a bit, would be Chris Jones on the D-line. That would be a formidable front line for sure. Yeah, that one would probably definitely cost a whole lot of money. Whole lot of money over there. Bill saying it would be nice to pick up 1 or 2 players in the draft. Could be more open in the draft. We don't have a huge hole to fill, but safety and help on defensive line would help. So got those comments over there. We got Living a Dream Jeff. Jones and Barkley would definitely be the best tandem duo most of us would have ever seen in Green Bay. Would be fun to watch. If they could pull it off for a decent price, I would be in. Still need to address defensive backfield and add depth in some areas, including running back. Bring in free agents to fill the gaps so they can draft best players on the board. Keep your comments coming by hitting us up with a quick text or hit me up on Twitter at Twitter/X at DANKASPER, Facebook.com as well. All right, coming up next hour, we'll hit up some hoops talk. Big game tonight with Marquette taking on UConn. Battle of 2 top 10 teams. Bucks are also in action as they begin a little West Coast action. West Coast trip here with Golden State. So we'll talk some hoops coming up here. We'll get back to some football talk here too. With free agency now just 1 week away, although we know we're probably going to find out a few more, or probably on Monday. Monday might be the day. Sunday, Monday. We start to hear about some deals going to be reportedly agreed to because of the whole legal tampering stuff out there. So, but expect in the coming days here too, Green Bay making a decision on David Bakhtiari. I would imagine on Devondre Campbell coming up here too. So we'll have some Green Bay news regardless, whether they make a push to sign some free agents in that opening wave or not. But we're gonna get some news because they're gonna make that decision on Bakhtiari before next week, a week from today. Which I think we all know the answer to that decision, unless they completely shock us and surprise us. And I would imagine too that they're hoping to get the Aaron Jones maybe pay cut thing figured out beforehand too. All right, we'll finish up the second hour. Good morning, Morgs. Or first hour, I should say.
First hour, don't rush it.
Yeah.
Still a little warm in here.
It's still a little warm.
Not as bad as yesterday, though, so you're not quite as cranky?
Not quite.
Okay. Yeah. Wednesday wildcard time, so you're going to pick a number for me. We're going to throw that random question into your lap. Let's go 1 through 15 today. Pick any number.
Let's go 14.
Okay. What is your least favorite football team?
Ooh, Minnesota.
Just by way of rivalry or okay?
See, it's Minnesota or Chicago. It honestly depends on the area you're in too, because when I lived in Rapids, I would have said Chicago.
Okay,
so there's more Bears fans there.
What if you take yourself out of your Packer head? So cheesehead off, objective least favorite. Does that change your answer?
Dallas.
Always.
Yeah.
Always. Everybody.
Yep.
All right. Back to the wild card pile. 1 through 15. Spin the wheel, buddy.
We'll go 7.
What's your go-to midnight snack?
We did this one, chips.
Chips?
Yeah.
Still back to chips?
Yeah. I wish
Okay.
I could get a healthier one, but I can't.
Why not?
I don't eat healthy stuff. I'm
Ever.
trying to.
It's a struggle, isn't
I'm
it?
trying to.
What's the hardest thing to not eat?
Chips.
Yeah. That's okay.
Yeah.
We can all relate. Let's just all agree to put chips into the healthy column and make it a lot easier on anybody.
Although
trying to
I'm surprised. I'd completely cut off soda in my life.
You did. See, I've never been a pop drinker, so that's
Oh, dude, I would have 7 cans a day.
Mountain Dew.
Yeah.
Straight.
It was like I would pack 2 or 3 in my bag and have it for breakfast.
And so, how do you feel now without it?
I feel
Empty?
good. I feel good because I have coffee now. I still have to have coffee.
Okay.
Otherwise, I get major caffeine headaches.
Right. So you've subbed it.
Yep.
All right, that works.
It's healthier though.
Oh, wait, oh yeah,
So,
coffee. Hello. It's
fiber.
full of good stuff.
Helps your liver.
If you don't think so, I would say read a study until it agrees with what you want to believe. And then, you echo chamber that. That's the way that goes. Find something that agrees with your mentality. All right, spin the wheel again.
We'll go 2.
Ooh, what's your most controversial opinion about something mundane?
Oh, that's too deep.
No, it's not.
That's too deep.
Something that the stakes aren't that high. We're not talking about the biggies. We're not going, politics and the big issues. We're going like something, people that don't signal shouldn't be allowed on the road, that kind of thing. Controversial opinion about something. Give me a good Casper's at the fight me table. I'll give you some of my 3 most unpopular opinions. I'll give you 3 things I don't like that everyone else likes.
Okay.
Baths.
I don't like baths.
Too much natural light. I like darker.
Okay.
I love being outside.
Yeah.
But in rooms, I like a softer light.
Okay.
And my 3rd least popular opinion, I don't nap. I don't like naps. Can't nap. I'd rather sleep a long time at night with no interruption than take a nap.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. I don't like naps, but I can't control myself sometimes.
Well, yeah. Apparently, you need to start packing the Mountain Dew again.
Let me think about this because we only got 5 seconds.
All right.
I'll get back to you on that one. I promise.
Okay, guys, we'll hold them to it.
Second hour kicking off on this Wednesday morning of March 6th. Big thanks for tuning in wherever, however, you may be tuning in from. Especially all of you on the X and Twitter. Holy moly, I don't know what's going on, but we got a boatload of viewers over there. So if you are bots, well, I don't care. Appreciate you tuning in too. But holy moly, I'm surprised at the numbers over there. Appreciate that. So give us a little bit of a message if you're not a bot, I guess, over there. Coming up this hour, we're going to talk we'll talk some hoops. We've got Marquette in action tonight. Big game against UConn. Top 10 matchup there. We got the Bucks are also back in action tonight, taking on the Golden State Warriors as they begin a West Coast trip over there. Hey, couple reminders here too. First off, are you looking to get your name out in the public eye more? Do you need some apparel, drinkware, or maybe some signage done? Whatever marketing materials you may be looking for, Resonance Branding Company has a wide range of items to help make your brand stand out from the competition. All your branding needs in one convenient place. Resonance is here to save you time, money, and headaches. And they can also set you up with an online store to sell your items as well. So let me simply ask you, does your brand resonate? Resonance Branding Company, the official swag provider for the program and the Man Cave podcast. Just text the word swag, SWAG, to 715-830-1912 to check out a couple of items we got up there as well. Also, we've got this bus trip for Milwaukee opening day, less than a month away here, people. April 2nd, Milwaukee taking on Minnesota, early border battle here. Get on the bus with us. Your ticket includes a ticket to the Johnsonville Party Deck, which includes food and beverages, including a couple brewskis if you're over age 21 or older. Round trip motor coach transportation, tailgate party from Premier Catering. Also, I just looked at them. There's going to be a couple of jerseys that will be given away on the bus too. We got one for the Twins, Carlos Correa, and one for the Brewers, the powder blue Jim Gentner jersey too. So if you want a shot at winning some of those jerseys, you got to get on the bus with us. Just head to wiscotrips.com or simply go to sportstalk1051.com and you'll see that icon over there where you can reserve your seat to get on the bus with us. Also coming up in about an hour, we'll do another edition of the Business of Sports, brought to you by Security Financial Bank. We begin this hour, though, with a little classes in session. Luke, how old were you in 1983?
Turned 5 that year.
Okay, you turned 5, so maybe you don't quite remember what started on this day in 1983.
I think I may know, but I will tell you I did not know really anything about sports that year.
All right, so it was the first week of the USFL. So kicked off. We had a Monday night game there too. But we're looking at just the games there. We have Boston, Tampa Bay getting a victory, 21-17. Chicago defeating Washington, 28-7. New Jersey falling to Los Angeles, 20-15. Oakland blanking Arizona, 24-0. Philadelphia defeating Denver, 13-7. And then that Monday game was Michigan defeating Birmingham, 9-7. Not bad crowd numbers. I actually have the attendance numbers here for these games too. 42,000, 38,000, 34,000, 45,000, 45,000, 38,000. Not bad. Mm-hmm. It did go down throughout, portions of the season there, but it's kind of like everything, first time, first week, you're going to have big numbers and then it kind of normalizes after that.
I think a
little bit.
Yeah, we forget that today, but look at any of the games that are on YouTube and there's a bunch. The crowds, those stadiums are packed. The USFL championship game, I think it was in Denver, I want to say, it was a sellout. And then ratings were somewhat decent. I still say the USFL could have stuck around a lot longer had, again, watch the documentary and you know exactly what happened. I'm going to say who because you know who I'm talking about. But had it not been for that change of perspective to go to the fall, I think the USFL would have lasted a lot longer. There are plenty of teams that were falling apart, folding, and happened all the time, but that's a nascent league. But there was plenty popular to start. They just didn't work out long term, but it was good from the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't like what the most recent USFL or the XFL. You're like, hey, there's 5,000 people, maybe. I think we'll see what the UF. By the way, is the UFL started?
I thought it's got to be coming up here, doesn't it? Season starts March 30th.
Okay,
so end of the month.
I was wondering, like, did I forget about that?
Nope.
Okay.
Nope. It'll kick off between the XFL champion Arlington Renegades and the USFL champion Birmingham Stallions.
The latest iteration of Birmingham.
Yeah.
From that original USFL.
Couple of nuggets from the 1983 USFL season. Your MVP that year was a running back not named Herschel Walker, though. It was Kelvin Bryant. Kelvin Bryant was the league MVP. Your championship game MVP was Bobby Hebert. How about that?
Bobby Hebert. Yes.
We actually, when we had our good friend Neil Hebert on, he actually purchased a Bobby Hebert Saints jersey off of eBay. I don't know if he still has that or not. I think he might have left it here. It might be downstairs or something. I don't know. But so those were you had league MVP. So we had all that. We've talked about the USFL before and some of their Hall of Famers, but you get Bill Polian was a player personnel director for the Chicago Blitz. George Allen was a coach for the Chicago Blitz. Marv Levy was a coach for the Chicago Blitz. Holy moly. Jim Kelly, Houston Gamblers, of course. Reggie White, Steve Young, Gary Zimmerman, Sid Gilman was a front office consultant. So, yeah, you got some Pro Football Hall of Famers that are attached to this, which I don't know if we'll get that with the UFL, to be honest with you.
No. Well, and I think it's more collaborative. Like the USFL was supposed to be a challenge to the NFL, not a direct challenge week by week, but it was supposed to. They were a rival.
Mm-hmm.
The UFL is not a rival. They may not formally be with the NFL, though I still think it's a matter of time before it becomes essentially a minor league. But the UFL is definitely not that. Plus, how would you challenge the NFL today?
Right.
And as big as the NFL was in the early 1980s, it still could be challenged. Like the NFL in the early 80s kind of reminds me of maybe almost where the NBA is now, or like maybe where MLB is now, where someone could start another league to challenge one of those two. And if they do everything right, they could get some footing. But they'd have to have everything break right to make it work. That didn't happen with the USFL. The NFL right now is impenetrable. Right now, anyway.
If we've got any, I'll just put this politely, older listeners that might have remembered watching the USFL, I'd be curious if anybody was like a diehard fan or had a favorite team from back then.
The thing is, we didn't have a Wisconsin or Minnesota team. There was a Chicago team, but that was it.
So if you are a listener now and you had a favorite USFL team, we're talking the original USFL here, let us know. Hit me up with a text, 715-830-1912. And who was your favorite team too? Or did you enjoy watching it back in the day too? Were you a fan of the USFL? Were you a diehard NFL fan, but also a fan of the USFL? So let me know or let us know. Okay,
yeah,
hit us up with a time. I don't hear a whole lot of people talking about it, so maybe there wasn't. I don't know.
It's kind of wild, given how big it was. I think it's because it then flamed out so quickly. It was big, especially its first year.
Mm-hmm.
But the second and third years really started to tail off. You're like, okay, well, now there's some financial difficulties. I think that's a big part of what did that.
Mm-hmm.
The best, by the way, I was looking to see, was there a plan to be in Wisconsin or Minnesota? The best I can, just a very quick search. There's a story from the UPI from April of '83 that says that there's a whole, like, basically every city is under consideration for expansion. But they did say Minneapolis was considered likely for initial expansion, along with Pittsburgh, Houston, and Dallas. Pittsburgh and Houston did get teams.
Mm-hmm.
And the Houston Gamblers, as we know, I mean, that became part of the whole current one. But Minneapolis probably would have been next. And then I'm guessing probably a Milwaukee team if the USFL had stuck around. But like I said, the realistic thing is there wouldn't have been more expansion. There would have been a merger at some point. So instead of having like Carolina and Jacksonville, as we know them today, the Panthers and the Jaguars, we probably would have had like the Birmingham Stallions in the NFL and one other team. Who knows which one that would have
been. Yeah. So, all right. Mark, our good friend Mark says, very rarely watched it. Packer, even though we stunk at the time too. Maybe that's the other part too. Packers stunk at that time. Maybe you were looking for somebody to put your, hit your wagon too.
They were coming off a win in the NFL tournament, if you recall correctly. The strike short in 1982 season. Didn't they? By the way, speaking of storming the field, didn't they storm the field after that game?
They could have. I mean, they stormed the field back in the 60s and tore down goalposts, for crying out loud.
At least they were winning championships instead of beating the Cardinals in the round of 16.
Hey, desperate times call for desperate measures. And when you've stunk for a while, you got to celebrate.
Yeah, I suppose.
So, would you ever storm the field? Is there a scenario that you would ever storm the field?
I think outside of everyone is running around me and I have to do it for my safety, otherwise I'm going to get trampled.
Without any repercussions.
Right.
So, no, you're not going to jail.
Right. I think I would do it because you've heard me. I've had some pretty strong opinions on what's appropriate and what's not. It has to be a big, big win. Like a major upset, something like that. The whole watered down, hey, we won a game, let's storm the field. Stop. If I knew there were no repercussions, that's the other problem, because if you do something slightly wrong, you actually are in legit trouble. But if there are none, I'd probably be like, provided that I don't have to worry about the flow. I think I have to wait for it to be like losing team beats number one at home. Thinking football in that regard, because that's also a little more difficult because you also got to jump down. Basketball's so easy. You just run straight forward. You're on the court. Football, you got to go down the steps. Potentially, there's a pretty big wall you got to jump down, go through all sorts of,
I don't care about that. If the Badgers had won, I don't care if it was basketball or football, I'm running out there. If I got to jump down, I got to jump down. And if I break my ankle, I'm limping through that whole thing.
Yeah, that's the thing. You got enough at that point. You have enough adrenaline. I don't think it matters.
Yeah, it's just rub a little dirt on the thing and get going, baby. Because it ain't gonna happen again.
Yeah, especially if it's one of those, like it's tough to imagine the Badgers being a sucky team being a really good team, because that hasn't happened in so long for both men's basketball and football. But if we're talking like the Don Morton Veer offense era, those who know. If that, let's say you'd been at Camp Randall in 1989, that Badger team, if they had beaten like the U at Camp Randall Stadium, and actually I suppose talking about fans rushing at Camp Randall is probably a little fraught given what happened a few years later in the Michigan game. But in a general sense, I would think you'd storm, and if I were a Badger fan, I would storm under those circumstances. Yeah, that was that would have been a monumental upset. For sure.
Absolutely.
Now Yeah, I think so.
All right. Tell you what, let's take a quick break here. We'll talk a little hoops. We're going to get back to some football talk here too. But the question we posed out there for you fans with free agency, air quotes, officially beginning a week from today, legal tampering and all that, which we'll probably know some contracts starting Sunday and Monday. How aggressive do you want your particular team to be? Be curious to get the opinion of one Minnesota fan who's in the other room to me. And we got Packers fans too, considering how the season went and ended. Maybe they want their Packers to be a little bit more aggressive with this upcoming free agency. So what are your thoughts? That's why I open it up to your favorite team. If you're a Bears fan, if you're a Lions fan, if you're Minnesota, Green Bay, don't matter. Give me your team name. And how aggressive do you want your team to be? All right, 715-830-1912. We'll take a quick break. We'll be back after these few short words. Grills are starting to come out of hibernation. For some of us, though, they never actually left. Grilling season is upon us. Do it the right way this year, though. That means heading to Mike's Star Market on the west side of Eau Claire. Brats, burgers, chicken, beef, whatever you're grilling or putting on the smoker, you want to make sure it's the best quality, and that's what Mike's gives you. Plus, they now have freeze-dried candy available. And get this, if you purchase a bag of the Jolly Rancher ones, $1 per bag goes to Backyard Dreams. So what are you waiting for? It's time to do some shopping at Mike's Star Market in Eau Claire. Also, a couple programming notes. One, tomorrow, going to flip-flop it again. Brandon's going to be on. Brandon Berg will be joining us tomorrow because he's got state basketball to cover with McDonald Central girls making it to state. So he'll be on tomorrow with us. And Friday, reminder, we are going to make the announcement of when the 4th annual Classic, Casper Classic, is going to be and open up online registration for it. However, if you want to be one of the first ones to get in on some early bird pricing, that's the key phrase there, early bird pricing, and you want to know a day beforehand, make sure you are a member of the Fan Cave, okay? And we'll send you an email tomorrow with that link to sign up early. So, All right. We've got so James on the video stream here too. Again, by the way, shout out to everybody viewing on the video stream. I like this. I like it a lot. Again, I don't know if you're all real people or not, but hey, I'll take it. James saying I was a Birmingham Stallions fan. As a kid, I loved football. The reason I liked the Stallions was that they won games, helped me cope with the Packers' poor play. I was really hoping somebody was going to say they liked the Birmingham Stallions because of our stallion in the studio. Rocky Balboa.
So
the
still
Italian stallion.
still be a Birmingham Stallions fan to this day. Remember, I know it's different, but they're still a Birmingham Stallions today. It's kind of part of the lineage.
Mm-hmm.
That's cool. I like that someone that there was fandom for that. I kind of tried to maybe be a USFL fan for the newest iteration of like, which team should I choose? And again, there's not a Minnesota team, there's not an Upper Midwest team, and like I thought maybe New Orleans because their helmets are kind of cool. Now they're not part of the new version of this. Maybe eventually, but not now. So I don't know. But that's neat. I wonder if anyone was a fan because of any players.
I think I could be a fan if I really tried hard. Really try. It'd have to be like my NHL fandom with the Seattle Kraken.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't, like, Birmingham would be perfect because there's nothing that bugs me about Birmingham.
Right.
You know, there's just nothing out there.
Yeah.
Like, so that would be a perfect one there too. Like if I were to hitch my wagon to a team, it'd have to be somebody like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know.
That would have been fascinating analyzing that back. Like, but again, sports media climate was so different 41 years ago. But imagine like you were doing when you were talking about this to start, like last night in the USFL,
right,
breaking down the games. But it was a totally different way of covering stuff. We didn't have hot takes. We weren't wondering what Stephen A's take on Herschel Walker with the Generals.
What would have to happen for sports media to really buy into the UFL?
Honestly, it would have to do a 180 and become a rival.
Yeah,
because they're pretty much saying we're gonna be a minor league. We're not challenging the NFL, so we know what this is about. So
or does the NFL embrace it so it's like a minor league development NFL Europe thing?
I think if that does happen, and I still think it's going to, maybe then. But also, not everything the NFL does becomes it seems like everything the NFL does. But we saw what happened with the flag football Pro Bowl. That's become less and less of a deal. I haven't seen numbers on engagement ratings for the combine, but that feels like that's become less of a deal in recent years. So I don't know that the NFL connecting to the UFL would automatically mean we're deep diving on all of that. Like,
what if they ended up getting, like, I'm just spitballing here, this would never, I don't think ever happen, but every team had a minor team. So 32 teams, each team had their own team. So you're talking like each team's almost expanding to 52 players or something like that.
It's actually a good idea, I think.
Because if you're a Packers fan, then obviously you're going to buy into the Packers. Like the G League's Herd, Wisconsin Herd. We don't really, once in a while you pay attention to it, but I think they do it right where, Marjan Beauchamp was playing in there the other day, or Andre Jackson, you're kind of calling it up and down a little bit. Baseball, we follow a little bit with the AAAs, with some players down there.
I think that would help. One, because it's directly tied to the NFL, so you are talking about this person playing this well for this team.
Would then that season have to be played during the NFL season so you could have call-ups?
Oh, that's a good point.
You know what I mean? Like, would that factor in, or is this purely then would it be a developmental thing where you've got some 7th-round picks? I'm just going to throw an example. Anthony Johnson Jr., safety from the Packers, was a 7th-round pick last year. He'd be playing right now to help develop, get better, and then be ready to go once the regular season starts. It would just be nonstop football for him, but
that's the thing. Is that too taxing on the body?
Yeah, that's the question.
I don't, and I know it's early enough in the season, in the actual year. You're done by like May, June, but yeah, what if you pull together a full season, goes from late March to, I can't remember when the UFL championship is. That's a lot.
June 2nd, I think it is, or something like that.
And then you go right into training camp.
And then you got a month and a half off because training camp's at the end of July.
I don't know. Let's see. Gosh, now that makes the parallel better. But when would you try to do the game? The NFL owns Wednesday nights with the UFL, so you have midweek games, and I mean that would be better because then if a player needs to be brought up, and we could give them a week and a half off. They take the following Sunday off, and then they follow a week off, and then they play the week after that. That's probably actually better.
Because I mean, and I know it's not maybe as physical, but we know baseball, a lot of guys play in the winter leagues. Basketball, at least WNBAs, a lot of them go overseas to play. And I know it's not maybe the greatest comparison, but there are sports where some of these players, especially the younger ones that are trying to improve their craft, maybe do play almost 365. It feels like 365 days out of the year they're playing somewhere.
Well, and also, okay, so maybe those players have some sort of either a limitation, think like the pitch counts in baseball. So you can only play X number of games. Like they have designated players that are likely to go up to the NFL on a direct pipeline. So they can, or like a snap count within a game, can only play so much, like minor league baseball, where, yeah, the teams are officially trying to win, but they know that there are players on their team that are just playing for the ability to get better, like a rehab assignment or potential call up, and they're going to be leaving, and it won't affect how they do in the international league or the PCL or anything like that. Think of those minor league actual championships, AAA and AA. That might be the case with the UFL. So yeah, you got a guy that's going to play for you for 6 weeks, but at a certain point, they're like, okay, this guy's good. We are pulling his rights back to the NFL level, and they're not going to be with the team for the rest of the season. Which could okay, so then that alters potentially if that team continues to the championship. So I guess that depends then how much we invest in fandom of we're on our way to a UFL championship versus how much we care about players just getting better to go up to the majors. I mean, with regard to the Twins, I mainly want the St. Paul Saints players to be good for the Twins.
Right.
And if the Saints win a minor league championship, cool. That's great. But mainly be good so the Twins can maybe win a World Series. And that's what would transfer over to the NFL and a UFL arrangement.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Switching gears here for just a little bit. Let's get over to some hoops. The Bucks begin their West Coast trip here with a game against the Golden State Warriors. Bucks undefeated since the All-Star break. No word on if Giannis is going to be playing in tonight's game, dealing with some tendonitis and his Achilles over there. Chris Middleton already being ruled out for this one, and this is this big stretch of the month, pretty much for the Bucks here. It's the final full month of the NBA regular season, but this brutal schedule coming up here for the Bucks continues tonight with Golden State. 6-0 since the All-Star break. Defense looks better. I think probably one of their most impressive, best wins of the entire season was just on Monday night when they beat the Clippers without Giannis and without Chris Middleton. Dame went off. My opinion, that's why you make a trade to bring in a guy like Damian Lillard, because when Giannis is out, you need the next guy to step up and shoulder the load, and that's exactly what Damian Lillard did against a good Clippers team. And I know Clippers run a back-to-back, Minnesota and such, but still, nonetheless, I thought it was probably one of their most impressive wins of the season, easily the best one of the Doc Rivers shortened era.
Yeah. I think they probably needed one of those like that.
I feel like they're getting their swag back a little bit too.
Well,
adding Beverly and Portis having a game like he did that night. We know Beverly's an instigator, right? He's that annoying. Bobby Portis can be that same way. So you're adding those two guys on, Dame with his ability, Giannis and such. I feel like they're getting a little bit of their swag back.
Judging Doc Rivers after like 5 games is so stupid. Boy, were a lot of people doing that. Bucks fans, outside observers, JJ Redick.
Yeah.
Let's wait until the entire season is done and the playoffs. I sense like one of the knocks on Doc Rivers is his ultimately how well can he manage egos and such. This isn't really an ego-ridden team. A lot of his other teams have been.
No.
Is sometimes for good. The Celtics, a lot of egos there, but like healthy egos. A lot not for good. Clippers, Sixers.
All right.
It's not really that in Milwaukee. So if he doesn't have to worry about that,
I mean, you got Giannis out there saying this is Damian Lillard's team. We all know that's not true, but I mean, come on, that's a superstar saying that.
There's no drama at all with the Bucks, and as long as the rest of the team plays better defensively, they've played a lot better since Rivers took over. I think they have. I think their ceiling is higher in the playoffs. It's still going to be tough against the Celtics, because the Celtics look like a behemoth right now.
They do. They did lose last night to Cleveland,
but that's I guess a good loss, even though they kind of collapsed towards the end.
I was forced to watch that shellacking that they did against the Warriors on Sunday.
Gosh,
that was just like, why are we watching this, Hudson? This is.
Did Hudson enjoy it?
He's like, well, this is over with. I'm like, can we turn it? No. So I'm like, okay, whatever.
Gosh.
But,
oh gosh.
He's goo goo gaga about basketball right now. He goes in his seasons. So
well, if he starts analyzing stuff, that's okay. Get something out of a blowout. It's gonna be.
He did call me out last night though.
What?
And part of it was I just wasn't paying attention. He's like, well, which games are on TV tonight, or which games are playing tonight? And I said, I don't know. And I knew a couple of them, but I was just like in the middle of something. He's like, aren't you a sports broadcaster? I'm like, oh,
wow.
6-year-old with the win. Yeah. Dang it. He got me there.
No comeback on that one. That's great.
Yeah. So he ended up finding the Boston-Cleveland game and turned that on. So
okay. And then ended up with a really good game out of that. That's good.
Yeah.
Wow.
Schooled me big time. So
that's a burn.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, I like outside of the Celtics, which team has an absolute advantage you think over the Bucks?
I don't know about absolute advantage. I think there's a couple that would maybe make Bucks fans nervous. It's going to be Indiana, even though it's been a while since we played Indiana. And the Bucks are obviously a little bit different, but that's going to be up there. Miami's probably going to always be up there just based off of history. I feel like now, at this point in time, and I know they're only a half game ahead of Cleveland in the standings, it's a collision course between Boston and Milwaukee to meet in the Eastern Conference Finals. I feel better about this Bucks team than at any other point I think I felt in the season. Even first half, all that, because they were putting up great offensive numbers, but we're like, they got to get better on defense. They got to get better on defense. I feel like now they're finally playing complementary football. I was going to say football, basketball. I feel better about this team than at any other point in this season.
Mm-hmm.
I really do. I feel like now I'm comfortable in saying it's going to be Boston, Milwaukee in the Eastern Conference Finals.
Cleveland's lack of experience is going to be a problem. Miami, I don't know that they have enough to go on another miracle run.
My Magic are in the 4th seed right now, if that tells you anything. So, and they're incredibly young.
Yeah, that's not going to last.
They're 21-8 at home and 15-18 on the road.
Pacers seem less scary than they were earlier this year.
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah.
could come back to bite me. But
Knicks,
yeah.
I think, will get better when Julius Randle. But are they enough? Is that
Yeah.
enough?
I was
The wild card is Joel Embiid coming back for the 76ers.
But will that matter by that point?
Right.
Seating might be too bad, et cetera, et cetera. Maybe a month ago it would have been like they're not even going to make the conference championship. I think they could now.
Mm-hmm.
I think I know that was my pick going back, but then a whole lot changed. But I think it's a legit prediction.
I think the players feel more comfortable. I think they believe more. I think they're more comfortable in the vision and the goals or what they want to do. I think the communication's better. I think everybody's now on the same page with everything. And it might sound like it's kind of a knock on Adrian Griffin, and it is, but I also think it's because he was put into a position as a first-time head coach. This is the team you got to have, which on paper is like, hey, I get to coach Giannis and Dame and all that, but that comes immense pressure. And it's not just easy as like saying, hey, I get these guys, I can do whatever I want. There's more to it. There's that chemistry. And I feel like the chemistry now is finally starting to click with this team.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. You're not going to have immediate chemistry.
Right.
Exactly. That we presumed Doc Rivers was going to come in and immediately right the ship, which actually the Bucks had a pretty decent record. It's just they'd had so many what the bleep losses, and they haven't really had any of those. They've had a fair number of losses.
The Memphis one stands out right before the All-Star break.
Right.
But it just feels like now when you look back at it, hindsight 2020, was that a team that was really trying to kind of tear everything down and build on the fly a little bit to what they wanted to do? And now it looks like I think this is what we're seeing. I know it's a small sample size with 6 games, but I think this is the team that we're going to see where they're better defensively. Their offensive numbers may not be as high as they were before, but it's because they had to score all that because they couldn't play defense.
Mm-hmm.
So it feels better. I feel a lot better about this team.
They're a more substantive team right now. They've got more of a stronger base, and yeah, I agree. They're not making stupid moves. They don't seem to be lost anymore.
Mm-hmm.
That was a big problem with the team before. I agree. I think they can last longer through the playoffs. I picked the Celtics to win right now because come on, that's a safe choice the way that they're playing.
Jason Tatum's playing out of his mind right now.
Right. Right. Western Conference right now could go in a myriad of directions.
Mm-hmm.
You can make a case for the Wolves. You can make a case for the Thunder. You can make a case for the Nuggets. Probably even throw in another team here or there that could go on a run. That's a fun one to watch right now. But I think it's the Celtics Invitational right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
which is a little sad if you're a Bucks fan that it's looking better, and it may not matter.
So, if you had to pick the Celtics or the field, who are you picking?
Ooh, Celtics.
They look that good, don't they?
But then again, we've had so many times where a team looks incredible, even at this point of the season. Fast forward to the playoffs and something happens.
Right.
I'm not saying that it definitely will. It's more the cautionary point. But yeah, right now that's the smart move. I would take the Celtics over the field.
Their point differential, 11.2. The next highest one is Oklahoma City at 7.6. They're the only double-digit one.
Yeesh.
Minnesota's third at 6.8. Yeah. Wow. Wow. Milwaukee actually has the third highest in the Eastern Conference, but that would be the 1, 2, 3, fifth highest in the West. So, yeah. I
wonder if, who would you pick the Bucks to if the Bucks were to get past the Celtics? Because that's the games. So, who do they defeat in the Western Conference, especially among those big teams? Let's say the Wolves, the Thunder, the Nuggets. Who do you think they match up best against? Who do they match up against worst? At first blush, you don't have to break it down, obviously, but
I think Denver or even Minnesota worries me a little bit. Minnesota just because of their length down low.
Mm-hmm.
And you got Edwards kind of on the perimeter over there too. So Honestly, it might be Minnesota and Denver to be real with you.
Yeah, I think they could beat the Thunder. I mean, they could. I think they could beat all three, though. I wonder if the Nuggets roll into position just in time, and we have a Celtics Nuggets championship. I mean,
Okay, so maybe the better question is the NBA champion going to be, if it's either Boston or Milwaukee, they're going to be the NBA Finals champion?
no, I wouldn't say that.
Okay.
If it's Boston, I think so. But gosh, Boston does have this tendency to not quite pull it all together late. So, like late in the playoffs. But the way they're playing right now, I'd say if Boston gets to the NBA Finals, yeah, like I said, I'm picking them over the field. If it's Milwaukee, it depends on. Yeah, I'm saying if it depends on the matchup. They've got more experience than Minnesota. I think Minnesota overall has more talent, but Milwaukee has more experience, and I think that matters maybe more in that matchup. I'd take Denver over Milwaukee. The Thunder. Oh, the size. What's SGA doing? That's almost a pick 'em. I think I might slightly lean Milwaukee again based on experience because they're so young.
Yeah.
Any of those series would be fun.
Yep, I'd agree.
Yeah.
All right, we got to take a quick break, and we'll finish up the second hour here. We'll throw some college hoops talk in here. Big game for Marquette's. Chance to really solidify themselves as a 2 seed, or maybe still an outside shot as a 1. We'll get to that coming up after these quick words. I'm a creature of habit. One of the very first things I do every morning is brew some coffee, but just not any ordinary coffee. Got to be cabin coffee in Altoona. See, Cabin Coffee in Altoona also locally roasts and packages coffee, fresh and daily. Personally, big fan of the Giddy Up. Or if I'm in a hurry, just pop on over to Cabin Coffee in the River Prairie District and grab myself a cup of Joe. They got a wide range of options to choose from. That's hard to just pick one sometimes. When it comes to coffee, I need quality, not some brown flavored water. And you can get that when you visit Cabin Coffee in Altoona. Latest bracketology here from Joe Lenardi from yesterday morning. Wisconsin's a 6 seed. They would be going up against, they would be going up against South Florida. If they were to win that one, according to Joe Lenardi, they would play the winner of Baylor versus Oakland. You got Marquette as a 2 seed. They would be going up against Sam Houston. Marquette could potentially solidify that standing with a big win tonight against number 2 UConn, or perhaps maybe get still an outside shot at a 1 seed. But Marquette coming off that loss against Creighton over the weekend here. They got dominated by UConn earlier this season. It was 81-53 in that loss. We'll make the pick in about an hour when we do our picks and predicts here. But I think I'm having a change of thought on this whole tournament now, where it looks like it could be upset central and a lot of teams and not. I'm moving away from that. I think when it's all said and done, you're going to see a lot of chalk in the Final Four.
Okay, how many of the 1 seeds are going to make it?
I'm going to go with,
and right now, for the listeners who aren't looking at bracketology right now,
Arizona, Houston, UConn, Purdue. I'm going to say at least 2. But I could say I could see 3. I really feel like that. I feel like we're going to get some upsets, maybe heading into the Sweet 16, but it's going to even itself out once we get to the Final Four.
Okay.
I don't know why. Now I'm kind of backing off on that whole upset thing.
Gosh, Iowa State's a 2 seed right now.
Iowa State. I was talking about them yesterday. Iowa State is a team that everybody's like, who? What? They're that good?
Moo you?
Yeah, it's
Those
like
who know, no.
Yeah. And it's like, I feel like they're just kind of catching people off guard. Like, holy crap, they're a top 10 team.
Yep. Kansas is a 3 now.
Right. You've had all this fluctuation with these top teams, and then there's all of a sudden, whoop, Iowa State's number 6, and they're a 2 seed. It's like, who?
Yep.
Where'd they come from? It just kind of calmly going in there. Tyrese Halliburton,
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, Iowa State's that team. I think everybody's like, where did they come from?
Yeah, I know. Well, there's substance to it. I think Purdue comes up just short of the Final Four. Like, I could see them doing an Elite 8 run.
Right now, they're in the same bracket as Marquette, and Wisconsin. If that means anything.
Okay, so why is Marquette always so high in bracketology? It feels like they should have fallen several times over, and they're always a 2 seed. What's the logic for that?
I think if they lose
not Tyler Kotek's injury, that's different. But why?
I think if they lose to UConn, they drop to a 3. I think they'll drop to a 3, especially if they get blown out again by UConn.
Okay, a blowout would be another story, but wouldn't that be the definition of a good loss?
But they just lost again I mean, you're losing back-to-back against ranked opponents. I mean, at some point, you got to fall down a little bit there.
I would think, but it never happens. Lenardi's really high on Marquette.
They worry me at some points. I think they're really talented, but there's some games like, what? Just like some games are a little bit closer than what they need to be.
I mean, you realize right now we'd have a Wisconsin-Marquette potential Sweet 16.
Yeah.
Based on Lenardi's current bracketology. That's going to change several times over. The odds of that are astronomically long.
Right.
But it would happen right now if bracketology was immediately put in position. I don't have Marquette going far in the. I mean, the only thing that makes me wonder is that he keeps believing him and long enough that maybe so. But I don't have Marquette going far.
So let's do Joe Lenardi's bracket here. Okay. We've got the regions: Midwest, East, Southwest. Pick your teams based off Joe Lenardi's bracket. Who's in the Final Four? We'll start with Midwest.
Doing a quick scan.
Yeah, Purdue, Marquette, Baylor, Your 4 seed is Kentucky. Number 5 is Clemson.
Should I just throw in Oakland, 14 seed on its way to the Final Four? Just throw in one of those random, like, what the?
Why not?
I'm going to say, well, you know what? The matchup for Purdue is actually pretty decent.
Honestly, that's where I'm going with. And I don't know if I can trust myself if this was an actual bracket, if I can trust Purdue to do it. But now, I've got Purdue in there.
So if Purdue gets to the Elite Eight, they'd be going up against, in all likelihood, Marquette or Baylor or Wisconsin or Dayton or a double-digit seed that's okay, I've changed my mind. Purdue makes it.
Yeah. I think it sets up nice for Purdue. But again, the wild card is, do you trust Purdue? I don't know if I trust them yet. But they're playing good right now.
Yeah, that's where I'm hoping for their sake that they figured out life enough that they know how to get beyond the opening game.
The East.
Oh, my.
UConn's the 1. North Carolina's the 2. You got Kansas as that 3, and then Alabama's at 4. And then your 5th team is Washington State.
That is a wicked bracket.
I'm high on UConn, so I'm going UConn.
Kansas keeps having bad losses.
It's another team I never trust when it comes to the tournament.
I know.
Even though they've won a couple times now.
I know. I don't trust UNC. Oh, my gosh, I'm doing this. Okay, fine, UConn. Let's go to the other ones.
Then the West. Arizona's the 1. Iowa State's the 2. Creighton's the 3. Illinois is the 4. BYU 5.
Okay, and I was sour on them early in the year, and I'm not going to be anymore. Illinois. Let's do it.
All right. Arizona.
Okay, that's 3-1. So this is going to be what was it, the 2008 season? And I know it didn't technically happen because Memphis they never went to the championship game. But those were 4-1 seeds.
It was UCLA, North Carolina, Kansas, and Memphis.
Yep. I remember that. That was a great Final Four.
Because, not for me. I was a North Carolina fan, and they got dominated by Kansas and Roy Williams, going up against Kansas games. So.
Yeah, that sucked. But otherwise
it was good. Yeah. Wasn't that like how many years in a row UCLA and Ben Howland went to the Final Four?
They went 3 years in a row, 06, 07, 08.
Yeah. All right, so the South, number 1, Houston. Number 2, Tennessee. Number 3, Duke. Number 4, San Diego State. Number 5, Auburn.
Oh, boy. See, Houston, ironically, is the one that I feel the most comfortable putting along up to the Final Four. And there's so many others looming there. They get to the Sweet 16 based on this particular setup. What is like Auburn upset them or something? And then
I'll tell you mine, I'm going Duke.
Yeah, gosh, I almost want to do that. Hey, so I guess that injury wasn't all that bad. See, let's do. Tennessee Miracle Run, and they're a 2 seed. That's not a miracle, but just because Tennessee hasn't been there, so I'm going to say Tennessee. Why not? All right, so You've got
2 1 seeds. I've got 3,
and I got a 2 and a 4. Okay, it's reasonable.
Yeah,
like last year. We're like, who?
Yeah.
What?
Yep. I want Iowa State if I had to hitch my wagon other than Wisconsin or Marquette.
That would be wild.
Yeah.
Iowa State going to the Final Four. Oh my gosh.
Why not?
I know of at least 2 Iowa State friends of mine who are on Facebook. I know one of them actively still posts about Iowa State, and I think her posts might become insufferable if this happens.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Which I'm good with the clones. I probably, if I had to choose between Iowa State and Iowa, I'll take Iowa State all day because Iowa's a rival, straight up a rival of Minnesota. And I would think for most Wisconsin fans, same applies. So I'll take the clones.
We are going to do the bottle cap challenge this year too. So that if anybody doesn't know, if you remember the old school, you buy a bottle of soda and you got a team name under there just randomly. We've done that the last couple of years. I would like it to get so everybody just gets one, but we might have to double up like we did last year. But that's coming. Info on that's coming. So, all right, 2 in. We got one more to go. Business and sports coming up after these news updates. Third and final hour kicking off on this Wednesday morning of March 6th. Appreciate you tuning in however you may be tuning in from. It's the third weekend of the Spring Kids movie series with Micon Cinemas. We've partnered up. Backyard Dreams has partnered up with Micon Cinemas to have these Spring Kids movies coming at you. All movies are going to be at the Micon Cinemas location in the Oakwood Mall, 11 a.m. showtimes, $3 admission, special $2 popcorns, $2 sodas. The third movie up, starting on March 9th through the 10th, Kickin' and Screamin' with Will Ferrell and Robert Duvall. If you got a soccer fan in your family or such, go check that one out. We got 3 more movies after that. The week after is Bingo, then Field of Dreams leading into opening day, and then the original Space Jam. So we get set for that will be during the tournament and set for the Final Four over there too. So more details up on Facebook and Mike on Cinemas too. If you're an organization, maybe you want to set up a table or such to maybe get some more exposure, or maybe kind of get some get some more exposure, I guess. Mike on Cinema is looking for you too. You can reach out to him and maybe set up a little information booth and such. Maybe for some little league teams out there, maybe looking for some signups for some kiddos or information for sponsorships. Mike on Cinemas wants to talk to you, so reach out to him and they will set you up. All right. What else do we got here? We're going to talk some football coming up in just a little bit. A week from today, the NFL free agency, quote unquote, opens legally. Franchise tag deadline came to pass yesterday. Some players getting the tag, ones that we probably already knew. Some not getting a tag. Not really any big surprises, I don't think. But we'll kind of take a look at that and how it affects free agency. And we got a Minnesota fan in one booth, Packer one over here. How do we want our teams? How aggressive do we want our teams to be in free agency? We'll hit that up coming up in just a little bit. Before that, though, we've got another edition of the Business of Sports brought to you by Security Financial Bank. I'm going to save the free agency one for the next one. So let's go to the baseball world here, Lucas.
Okay.
Did you see the new ballpark design?
Oh, yes, I did.
Can we call them the Las Vegas A's if they're going to be, I don't know.
If this happens, which I still think is generally more likely than not to happen. Someone just posted a thread of all of the other ballpark renderings for the A's over the years. There's some old school ones going back like a decade. Like, oh yeah. So let's not exactly shall we say start planning which part of the ballpark you're going to be sitting in. Hold off on that, folks. I think there's some more steps involved.
So if you haven't seen the renderings, you can, just Google it and that. But they released their vision yesterday of the Las Vegas ballpark. A 33,000 fan capacity stadium design features a fixed roof and tiered seating with unobstructed sight lines from every seat. The roof's design features 5 overlapping layers inspired by traditional baseball pennants, with the wall behind the outfield featuring the world's largest cable net glass window facing Tropicana Avenue, Las Vegas Boulevard intersection, with the strip serving as the backdrop. The windows allow natural lighting inside the stadium while also limiting heat created when there's direct sunlight in the south of the stadium. They're looking at this design.
It's the Sydney Opera House.
A $1.5 billion project.
Yeah.
$1.5 billion project.
Which, okay, we'll see. Maybe this actually does happen.
18,000 square foot Jumbotron, which would be the largest stadium screen in Major League Baseball. The Mets currently have the largest at 17,400.
Wow. Okay. In general architecture,
I think it looks cool.
Yeah, me, like uniforms and stadiums, those are my go-to things. So once I saw that, I'm like, ooh, wow.
If anybody hasn't seen the Jumbotron, it's not like a straight up and down jumbo. It's like, it almost looks like it's curved because of the pennant, thing there, but it's almost like it's projected on there.
Right. You've never seen anything like that.
Right.
Before, if this holds. The Sydney Opera House thing is definitely that's the analogy a lot of people are saying, and I see that. I know the whole spherical armadillo thing, which someone said, I can't remember who, but like, well, actually, armadillos are not native to Nevada, but okay, close enough, I guess, sort of, maybe. So this is on where the Trop currently sits. That casino that'll be demolished. It's not that far from either T-Mobile Arena or Allegiant Stadium, so they're all pretty close. And like, I guess fans would be pretty close. The 5,000 fans that'll show up for A's games. Gosh, and I'm intrigued by the left field where they're like it goes straight out, like ground level straight out, as opposed to like a big wall there. That looks kind of intriguing. And again, that roof looks it's unique. That's what I want to see in stadium and arena architecture. That's why I like what I said. This what was it last week? The Intuit Dome where the Clippers are going to play. I like that because it's tougher to be unique with the basketball arena. They tend to be more function over form. But that one's going to be unique, so good on them.
I like the plaza when you're walking to the stadium with that glass mesh window.
Mm-hmm.
When you're walking that plaza and you can literally see like the whole ballpark as you're walking up to it.
Yes.
That looks cool.
Yeah.
That looks cool.
So architecturally speaking, it's really, really neat.
It fits Vegas, doesn't it?
It does. You know what? It would have been campier if it were 20 years ago. I think my understanding is Las Vegas, maybe you've heard the same thing. They're trying to remove a lot of the camp and they're trying to make it into more of a sleek, this is where all the cool rich people go thing now. So you're going to see less of the touristy sort of stuff, which this kind of matches with that, but I don't, well, you know what? You could probably put this in almost any city and it probably could work, but it stands out more in other places, whereas here it's going to meld a little better because it's Vegas, because in the outfield you have those other casinos as part of the quote-unquote skyline, which you would never have anywhere else. I like the design. Now, will they still make this all happen? I don't know. Or will they still be the Oakland A's in 15 years? Maybe. Anything is possible at this point. But if this ends up being the stadium that they finally do design, cool. I would not be surprised, though, if some of the bigger features end up going bye-bye. So basically think of the flashiest stuff that we've just been talking about. So the projected scoreboard, the biggest glass wire mesh, though, given that that's been like the biggest talk thus far, I think that probably does survive because you can't make that like the headline of everything and be like, oh, actually, we've now changed this. Now it's just going to be like, it's going to be like a glass, just a straight up, like, I don't know, something where there's like another wall or something. Curious how the air conditioning is going to work in that. They're going to need it. I do kind of fear, though, that it could become a little bit more generic. Like, I don't think it's going to become Camden Yards Park 25 when this is all done, but I wouldn't hold too firm to this design. The way this whole thing tends to work. No pun intended, if it's in the ballpark of this design, it's going to be really cool. I also don't think it's opening in 2028. It's gonna probably be more like 29 or 30.
I've never been to Vegas, so I haven't been to the Strip, but I just think it's still kind of weird to see in left center field the Statue of Liberty right there. So it's just, I get it, I understand it, I know what it is in that. It just still is kind of weird to me to see that in the skyline right behind left center field is the Statue of Liberty. So,
see, those are the things that I think maybe in 15, 20 years, those get demolished and get replaced by something more generic. As Vegas, again, de-emphasizes, because I think I heard like the Luxor, that's the pyramid, right?
Yeah.
I think I heard that there are plans to demolish that.
Yeah.
Because again, too kitschy. And different levels of kitsch. Like, we're not talking like 50s kitsch. We're talking like the 90s era kitsch that came in.
I think there's an interesting note here too that I was reading that we mentioned the project's coming in at 1.5 billion, according to this write-up, which is an important number because Fisher, the owner, is on the hook for the cost overruns, and as some saying they don't see this coming in under $1.5 billion.
No way.
So he's on the hook for that. But as many have also noted, he's also in charge of pumping money into the roster ahead of the team's rival in Vegas, which we know that's how that's gone over the years too.
Right.
So,
Like, well, this gets to part of the existential question with all of this. It's like, yeah, look at all of the, like, we're going to be having constant sellouts and all these tourists are going to be coming in. Really? So you mean the A's are going to turn into some combination of the Bash Brothers and the early 70s Dynasty and Moneyball and all of that, and they're going to be winning 110 games every season with like 4 MVPs and really? That's all going to, sure. Yeah. That's why I joke about 5,000 fans when the A's suck again. I mean, there are plenty of reasons to go to Vegas. Like you, I've never been there. I don't know if I ever will. Maybe. This seems okay. I'm going to use another pun. A house of cards, a little bit. Yeah. I don't know.
you don't know, as in terms of you don't know if it's going to get done, or
the whole concept. Okay, as is, this is going to get modified. There's a better than even chance they're going to Las Vegas, but this is not the sure thing that we thought like several months ago when all the owners approved it. I think they were like, well, based on what we know, okay, sure, but I think they'd also all retract it. Plus, if you ask most owners, I do think if you ask them, would you rather the A's stay in Oakland with a different owner and build their own stadium there versus going to Las Vegas? They'd take that over this because they don't want to have to spend money going to a much smaller market and revenue share that way. They'd rather stay in the Bay Area if there were a viable option.
Mhm.
In my opinion, they would rather do that. And they also probably are sick of John Fisher. You can't stand the dude.
Mhm.
He's not exactly the most popular owner around.
Right.
So that's why when I think it was an Athletic or maybe it was Jeff Passan. Someone said it one of the bigger articles said it's probably about a 60% chance. Maybe it was Front Office Sports. Maybe about a 60% chance this whole thing happens. It's not great odds.
No.
And that's like talking to people who know say that.
Right.
So yeah, like, okay, cool if the stadium gets built that way. Let's see if it actually happens.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely going to be interesting. And it's not anytime soon, like you said. They're saying 2028, but
minimum.
Because they still got to, I mean, they're talking 2025 to start tearing down. Was it the Rat Pack area, Plaza stuff and all that?
That area, the Trop, that's supposed to happen in like weeks.
Yeah.
I think like April it's supposed to happen.
Okay.
So
no, they were starting to break ground in 2025, supposedly.
Yeah.
Supposedly.
Mm-hmm. So there are other things that are going to happen here, but wake me when it actually is under construction. Mm-hmm. And then at that point we'll have a completion date, but once that starts, cool.
Right.
I want to see shovels on the ground.
Mm-hmm. All right. There you have it. This is your Business of Sports brought to you by Security Financial Bank. Let's talk a little football here with free agency legally opening up in a week from today. How aggressive do you want your favorite team to be? If you are a Packers fan, how aggressive do you want your team to be this year? Maybe if you're a Minnesota fan, how aggressive do you want to start to kind of quote the rebuild, if you will? Let us know. Hit us up with a text on that Shoe Doctors bullpen line, 715-830-1912. We'll take a quick break and we'll be back to chat a little football after these few words. Two of the most important things you need to keep up to date with on your vehicle is oil changes and tires. Well, guess what? You can accomplish both of those right at ASAP Used Auto Parts in Eau Claire. Not only does ASAP Used Auto Parts have a wide range of high-quality used auto parts, they also offer oil changes and can hook you up with a new set of tires to hit the road. No more looking for multiple places to get each of those jobs done. You can get it all done at ASAP Used Auto Parts. Just give them a call at 715-514-4501 or visit them at 1330 Menominee Street in Eau Claire to set up your appointment. I didn't know this was a thing. To be fair, I haven't had Twitter up, but apparently there was a rumor going around that Barry Alvarez had passed away. Not true.
What?
Not true, according to Colton Bartholomew, who covers the Badgers for the Wisconsin State Journal. Matt Finkus, who's a former Buckeye, looks like he was the one who tweeted it, and he had 18,000 followers.
Oh, cool.
So, not true. Colton apparently talked to Chris McIntosh, and Chris McIntosh said he talked to Barry this morning. So, just be careful when you post stuff like that, for crying out loud.
People.
So, if you heard that, not true. It's not true. So, thank goodness, right?
Yeah.
Man alive. So, all right. Let's talk some football. On a more
much better
positive
football note.
Exactly. Gee, like I was like, because I just popped it up, the good old X, the old Twitter, and I saw these tweets saying the Barry Alvarez rumor is not true. I'm like, wait, what? What's going on? And that's apparently what was happening.
What it is.
And that's probably a good reason why I was not paying attention to Twitter. So,
Mhm.
all right, let's talk some football. So free agency opens up a week from today legally. Again, we say legally because we all know how that works out.
Yeah.
And I mean, I saw this from Schefter a little bit ago too. The Broncos are already giving Russell Wilson permission to talk to other teams in their home cities. They just can't wait to get rid of the guy right now at this point. So, go talk to teams now if you want. Just get out of here. So, but I think it's interesting from your point, from your perspective. You are a Vikings fan. I am a Packers fan, and there's two different storylines. One for you, Kirk Cousins, is he going to be back? Is he not? How do you want to start the rebuild? Are you guys going to be drafting a quarterback early? Justin Jefferson's going to need a big contract, all that stuff. Green Bay, maybe that window opened back up now with the way things have ended last year. Maybe a couple plays away from going to the NFC Championship game and such, surpassing a lot of expectations. How do you want your Vikings to approach the offseason this year? I'll start off with you. Do you want them to be aggressive in free agency? I guess it starts with, do you want them to bring back Kirk Cousins?
I think.
Or are you ready to start the new chapter?
I think start the new chapter. Like, or are they? If they bring back Kirk Cousins, are they going to be winning the Super Bowl next year or the year after that?
Mm-hmm.
I don't think so. I think the competitive rebuild continues, and part of that is trying to figure out your future at quarterback, which does not necessarily mean the number one pick, which you're not getting this year, but that does not always translate to future Super Bowl champion, as we've seen plenty of times. The best quarterback comes further down in the draft. I don't know that you're going to get that guy this year. Already dreading, again, the prospect of Russell Wilson to the Vikings.
You don't want that? What?
Skull, everyone. Clap. Okay.
No, it's got to go. Skull. Let's ride.
Yeah, and I'm trying to think how we would do that. I've talked about this before. Like, what is he going to say that's going to turn off every Viking fan?
Yep.
But it's a very Russ-ism. But I've seen like Tannehill and Mayfield thrown about as potential bridge quarterbacks. That's probably what it is. So I wouldn't be super. But then comes the question of, well, if you're really not going to go aggressive in free agency, you get rid of Justin Jefferson while you're at it, other than wasting his next couple years with a borderline playoff team, which is probably what they would be.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe not. I mean, there is upside where they could put together a run, but you're banking on everything going right. You're banking on Brian Flores still sticking around. You're banking on whatever quarterback you have putting together a really good year, like Baker Mayfield last year has to do that again this year in Minnesota. Maybe. but the odds are, I would say, generally against, considering his track record, unless he's changed his approach to the position of quarterback. Running back is completely out. Hey, there's your A.J. Dillon opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
Who do they got now? I don't think they should be that aggressive. I think you try to rebuild so you can put together a longer run in the latter part of the decade. Again, it's about the Super Bowl with the Vikings. Is winning a championship. That has never happened. They're one of only 6 teams that have never won any championships at all, ever. So let's focus on that. I'll take that over. Cool, we're 9-8 next season and not really having a direction.
Mm-hmm. So you're would you like? I've had this conversation with Brandon a couple times, and when it talks to going after a quarterback, he wants them, if they're going to go target a quarterback, to go all in and maybe move up in that draft and be aggressive and get that guy.
Yeah.
Would you be on that same?
I would, because that's the only other reasonable option. I mean, unless your guy could potentially fall. But yeah, you'd have to probably trade Justin Jefferson. Probably have to trade a bunch of draft picks to get up there. Cool. Now, that also may backfire. Again, look, like I just said, not every top 5 quarterback picked turns out to be great. Some of them are going to go kaput. And that's the risk you take with that. That's part of the reason why I'm not so gung-ho to do that. But if you think this is that great of a quarterback draft class, go all in right now, because you don't know what you're going to get in the next 2 years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Jaron Hall evidently is not the answer.
That's, I think, what Brandon was saying is like, don't just, second, third, fourth rounders or something like that. If you want your quarterback, go get that quarterback.
Right. Someone, and again, we're not relying on Brock Purdy kind of situation. I mean, what I'm talking about, not necessarily a top 5 quarterback. We're talking like a first rounder who turns out to be a really good quarterback. And that does happen a fair amount. If there was someone who could fall to the realm of 11th, go with that. I don't know that exists this year, though.
Mm-hmm.
I think you might have to get up to like 6 or 7, and there are other teams that are going to want to get up as well. It's going to be tough.
Feel like your boy Kirk is pretty much gone at this point?
I think so. There was that article from Kevin Seifert yesterday connecting all the dots, and especially Kwesi Adofo-Mensah not wanting to commit long-term to guaranteed money, and Cousins' thing kind of seems to be he wants guaranteed money.
Yeah.
It's kind of a theme of his career. And that's probably going to be to his detriment, that he wants the money over necessarily the chance. Well, let's see what happens first. Let's give him the benefit of the doubt, and let's see where he goes. I know Atlanta's the likely opportunity. And honestly, Atlanta and Minnesota in the very near future probably about equal in terms of Super Bowl likelihood, which is also really not a likelihood at all. But if that's what he wants, I'm just as soon not have the burden of spending that much money on someone who looked really good this past season, but by and large hasn't.
I think Atlanta's closer to a Super Bowl than Minnesota. And I'm not trying to knock Minnesota.
Right, I know.
It's just...
But neither, they're both kind of in that, hey, if stuff breaks kind of right.
Well, division-wise, Atlanta's in an easier division, in my opinion.
Oh, yes, for sure.
A little bit more youth depth when you look at offensive weapons, if you will. And if you sign a guy like Kirk Cousins, you got Arthur Blank, who is desperate for a Super Bowl. He's getting up there in age too.
He's old. Yeah.
So I mean, I think if you get Kirk Cousins, then are they going to be that team like the Jets last year? We're like, okay, we got a quarterback. Now we got to go get all these different guys and plug them in and that sort of stuff.
At least in Atlanta's case, they don't have to worry about all of Kirk's guys.
Right. Yeah. Yep. Exactly.
But that's a better approach. You could probably plug in with actual fits that help the team overall. I mean, now of course I had Atlanta as a pick to win the division last year, but like you said, it's not that great of a division. I guess whatever makes you happy too. But that's what I always say about athletes. Do what you want to do. I mean, if you want to keep playing, cool. If you want to go play in Atlanta because your wife's from there, cool. Just go ahead and do that. If whatever's the biggest value. I'm serious. Do that. And I think it's probably best for the Vikings that not be Kirk Cousins right now. Probably. I don't say definitively, but probably.
Yeah. So, all right. I think I'm on the opposite. I want Green Bay to be a little aggressive.
I think they should be, by the way. Yeah, can continue, but yes, I think Green Bay should. And not mortgage the future, but dude, you've got a chance here to win it.
It's kind of like, I don't know why, but I got this weird feeling for this offseason. Like, I don't know how to really describe it, to be honest with you. Like, I don't want to set myself up for disappointment if they don't be like aggressive, but not like stupid aggressive.
Mhm.
Like, I almost feel like, could we see a repeat of 2019, was it? Or whenever they got Za'Darius and Preston? Was that 18? Maybe it was 18. Where they doubled up. Like, could you see that? Because I just feel like the holes or the areas of need that Green Bay has, safety.
2019, yeah.
Yeah, safety and off-ball linebacker, the free agents right now are full of them. So why wouldn't you take advantage of that?
Yeah.
In my opinion. Like, why wouldn't you? And that's where I keep going. Could they double up on the safety and then still draft one like they did? They got, the Smith brothers and then drafted Rashawn Gary.
Well, and if that's the concern of the team, then you have enough depth there. I don't know that they're going to be okay. Do you think they're going to be a little not true to form for the Packers and be really aggressive at the beginning of free agency, or hang just a little bit, but end up when all is done, you go, oh yeah, they actually did make some good moves, even though we criticize them right out of the gates for not doing anything once again?
I think they're going to get a free agent right away.
Really?
I do.
Okay.
I feel that way. The other part in this thing too, like, safeties are going to be the big one. And I know you try to connect dots, and because there's a few safeties that actually have connections with some of these defensive coaches now. And you just kind of wonder, does Green Bay look at that and be like, ooh, okay, that guy is familiar with this. Let's bring him in, to solidify that depth over there too. There's this weird, I don't know if I'm trying to hold myself from getting too amped up, because we've been down this before. We get too excited. I feel like Green Bay was honestly maybe a little surprised. They will never admit this. A little surprised how it went last year towards the end. Maybe Jordan Love blew out their expectations too. Their young receivers and tight ends, like, oh, okay, yeah, we may have something here.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, okay, we got a window again.
Yeah.
Can we go after that? Can we take advantage of that? Because they're going to pay Jordan Love. Jordan Love's going to get an extension in May when he's eligible. We all know this.
Yes.
And I know people are going to start saying, "Oh, great, now we're paying a quarterback all this money." The counter to that, though, is they ain't paying anybody else on offense. They're not paying any of their wide receivers or tight ends. They're getting all rookie stuff. Bakhtiari is going to be gone, so that takes away your biggest cap hit. Aaron Jones is still going to have a decent cap hit on there too. But yeah, we're going to be paying a quarterback a ton, but you ain't paying a wide receiver. Kind of like we're, Minnesota. Do they want to pay a lot of money to a quarterback and a wide receiver? They don't want to get into that, it seems like.
Mm-hmm.
Where Green Bay doesn't have to worry about that, at least right now. So you can use those other funds somewhere. So I don't know. And the other part here too is Saquon Barkley. I would have laughed at this last year or the last couple of years, but if we believe the reports out there that the Packers inquired about Jonathan Taylor, remember that last year?
Mm-hmm.
Right during training camp, Taylor was sitting out because he wanted a long-term deal. Reports were that the Packers reached out to gauge interest in a trade. One, that tells you if Green Bay was seriously interested, they were going to give Jonathan Taylor a contract. You don't make you don't make that call unless you're willing to make that contract and make him one of the highest paid running backs, because that's what he wanted.
Right.
Then this one kind of flew under the radar, but popped up again yesterday. Jay Glazer during the season said Green Bay reached out to the Giants at the trade deadline about Saquon Barkley. So you factor these in, and it's like, can we necessarily rule out, do they make a run at Saquon Barkley now that he's a free agent?
I'd never thought of that. So when she started saying that, I'm like, how would you feel on a scale of 1 to 10? What's your heat check on? I know that's a bad analogy, but what's your passion level to Saquon to the Packers? 1 to 10.
5.
Yeah.
I mean, would I be upset about it? No.
Now,
Hell no.
If that means there's no Aaron Jones.
Okay, I'm an Aaron Jones guy. Like, I think Aaron Jones is on this team regardless, whether
Right.
Saquon's there or not. But I also think last year proved this offense, this team needs a running game.
Mhm.
Because they really started that end of the season. One of the big factors was getting Aaron Jones back and healthy and relying on him. That run of 100-yard games, he was pivotal to that run at the end of the season.
Right.
Look at the games when he wasn't playing. It wasn't that great. They missed him. So part of the Saquon effect then too is like, do you improve your depth by having a two-headed monster? I think you'd still go to the draft to find a younger guy. Now, let's say they do make a run at Saquon, they bring him in. I think that one would tell us this is probably for sure going to be the last year of Aaron Jones.
Mhm.
You have a couple more years of Saquon. You still got a younger guy. It transitions into that a little bit.
Yeah, I think that's reasonable. I think they can have a decent running game out of that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, in a football sense, I'd be good with that.
And we know Saquon's effective in the passing game too. We've seen that.
I mean, Saquon or AJ Dillon, do an either or.
Well, Hudson's school, so I could say this. Saquon. So it's Saquon. So sorry, but yeah.
You're sure he doesn't have a teacher who might have the?
Well, I know apparently his principal listens, so hopefully his principal's not listening to that part and tells him at lunch or something like that. So
if you are, don't tell Hudson.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Yeah. So yeah, I think Saquon. I mean, I know it's the whole kind of the thunder and lightning thing gosh, that originated with the Giants. It's that
Tiki and Rondé, Thunder and Lightning,
or Tiki. Who was the other guy?
Brandon Jacobs.
Yeah.
I
think it's not exactly your two options, but I guess Saquon can be dangerous enough. I guess the concern would be injury, but you've already got so many injuries with the running game with the Packers anyway. Unless you're bringing in someone who is like Frank Gore level, never injured, will play until he's 92. Go for it. And Dillon's been just ineffective enough. I mean, I guess the concern is that Saquon Barkley gets injured for a long period. Like, oh, great, he's out for 10 weeks. Why don't we bring him in?
But doesn't that counter it if you have Aaron Jones already and you're splitting carries between the two?
Right. And I mean, it's provided Aaron Jones stays healthy too, which, like I said, it's not always a guarantee.
And the counter to all this too is Saquon, whether he wants to share carries or not.
Also that, but you would be attaching to a team where you've got a pretty good chance to go to the Super Bowl. B, you could be pretty sure that the running game is going to matter.
Mm-hmm.
The Packers have put more emphasis into the running game of late. If I'm Saquon Barkley, maybe I'll take fewer opportunities, understanding that those opportunities might be golden. And hey, if that parlays you to, well, I mean, he might be thinking parlays that to a bigger contract, running backs.
Yeah, good luck with that.
But that might be that's the thinking. And well, what's the other option? To not play at all? Then you're not getting a better contract. It's the best opportunity that you would have.
From an offensive standpoint, as a play caller, if I'm Matt LaFleur and I know I can employ Aaron Jones and Saquon on the field at the same time, that makes life a whole lot easier for my still young wide receiving core and tight end group.
Yes, veterans in another area for those two. Yes, that's pretty good.
Yeah, as a play caller, I would love that. Mm-hmm. Absolutely love that. And I would think as a young wide receiver, you would love that too. It might be really focused on the running game, but hey, I'm going to have chances for some big plays in the passing game too.
Mm-hmm.
So do I think it's their biggest need? No. Would I be mad if they did it? No, I would not.
Thank you, Brett Favre.
Yeah, right. Yeah. But I feel like they're going to make some moves. Nothing that'll, be stupid. They're not going to mortgage their future or anything like that. But
the Packers never make stupid moves. That's right. The thing. That's the characteristic of this team. We've talked of them being too conservative. Well, the counter to that is they don't go for the splash, like who am I thinking of, like Andre Wadsworth, or who am I thinking of, like the poster child for? And maybe it's not him.
Oh, Albert Hainsworth.
Albert Hainsworth.
Yeah.
That's who I mean.
Yeah.
The Albert Hainsworths of like, the bad free agent signings. They never do that. They've had free agent signings that don't work, but they don't make a big splash that screws up the cap, screws up the direction of the team. Gutekunst sure has not shown any hint of doing that in his shorter period as general manager. No, I think they're going to be fine in that regard. Aggressive for them is going to be not aggressive for a lot of other teams.
Let me throw one more, maybe overlooked, but potential scenario into this. So we were talking about, hey, Arthur Blank's up there in age. Maybe he wants a win. Somebody has to retire in 2025. He has no choice. That's Mark Murphy. Want to go out with a bang?
Yeah.
This is pure speculation, but I mean, who wouldn't want to win one more title before? And you know when you have to call it quits. He's in that position, right?
Yeah.
Mark Murphy knows, hey, I'm out of a job, in June or July of 2025. I'm done. The draft's going to be my going away party in Green Bay. But I want another Super Bowl before I go. Could he be like, hey Brian, let's go for it. Let's be a little aggressive. I don't think he would.
No, I'd
like thinking that Murphy would be like, you know what? I'm gonna throw my weight around a little bit and be like, let's have some fun this offseason.
I actually think it might be the other way around. That maybe Gutekunst is like, let's do a little something extra, but the emphasis on little something extra.
And the other part of me is thinking of this too. Now I'm really getting into conspiracy theory here.
Oh boy.
Actually, it was his third year, so it'd be, yeah. I mean, Green Bay won a Super Bowl in the third year of post Brett Favre. This would be the second year post for Rodgers. So yeah,
not quite, but
you get where I'm getting at.
Yeah,
with that
but
one, so.
But also I think Mark Murphy's more inclined to want to set up the Packers longer term. I think he would be happier seeing them win maybe like 2 Super Bowls within 10 years of his retirement than 1 Super Bowl run, like an NFC championship in his last year, and then maybe that's it.
I honestly feel like how that season ended for Green Bay kind of left a bad taste in their mouth when you listen to some of the comments. Like even Goody in his end of the season presser, he said, we felt like we outplayed them. Like, I don't feel like you hear that a whole lot from general managers. But weeks after that, when he still said, we outplayed them and talking about the 49ers, and I feel like that left a little bit of a bad taste in, and maybe they're like, okay, coming out with a little vengeance now. Maybe, I don't know. But
maybe
I just think the way they finished kind of caught them off guard a little bit, like, oh, dang, maybe we got something here.
Maybe.
I think it moved up that timeline a little bit.
Yeah, to a degree. Again, be smart, folks, with this. And I'm saying this I really shouldn't be like, okay, cool, Morgan's the future.
Well, if they have a top 5 pick in this draft, one, we're probably talking about, are they drafting a quarterback at this point? But if they have a top 5 pick, are we saying be aggressive in free agency? Probably not. Probably not. It'd probably have to be for the following year. It was kind of a weird test with no audio there.
Yeah, I know, that was awesome. Like, okay, so what did that mean?
Yeah,
is that good or bad?
I don't know, but
if they played poorly, well, that's the thing. If they played poorly, then that means Jordan Love probably played pretty poorly, and they'd be in position for the draft. By the way, just for the record, if the Packers somehow had acquired the number 1 draft pick through prior trades, and they owned the Panthers' number 1 draft pick, and so they were drafting number 1 this year, would we be talking about the Packers trading Jordan Love to get Caleb Williams?
With all things being equal, like, would Love have played as well as he did?
Let's presume last year happened, and the Packers were like that scary Super Bowl contender, and next year they are probably one of the top 3 teams in the NFC. But is that would we still be going through the whole round, which I understand with Justin Fields to a degree, but would we be going, yeah, but look, you got to draft a quarterback number one. Doesn't matter who you got. You can keep him under contract longer with a lower amount of money. You got to trade Jordan Love to get Caleb Williams.
No.
Would we be doing that right now?
No. Jordan Love would still be quarterback. He'd still be quarterback.
I would hope so.
And
really
I
hope so.
would have loved that, because now you're just like, you hold the key to the kingdom at that point.
You'd either get Marvin Harrison Jr. and turbocharge your wide receiver core,
Mhm.
or get someone like a Joe Alt or someone like that.
Yep.
Great on the line.
And then another first round pick for next year. Yeah, no.
That would be incredible. Though there'd be some takes out there, and not fringe takes. There would be some like first take on ESPN takes of
And then inadvertently they would compare Jordan Love to Caleb Williams' careers.
Yep.
That's how that would go.
Yeah. I mean, are we to the point now where no matter what, you have to take no matter who your quarterback is, short of Patrick Mahomes?
Well, you didn't even know who Patrick Mahomes was when he was first drafted.
Right.
Nobody knew he was going to be this great.
But short of current Patrick Mahomes or current Josh Allen, are we to the point now where if you have the number one pick, you have to take the quarterback because of financial savings?
I mean, would the better comparison almost be like when the Colts drafted Andrew Luck and traded Peyton?
Maybe.
Yeah, I know he's coming off injury in that, but Peyton won a Super Bowl.
Right.
Went to two.
Yeah.
And
at least there you could see where the age was approaching. You were wondering, when is the cliff going to hit? And it didn't hit for a few years.
No.
But when it hit hard.
But at the same point, Andrew Luck also retired early.
Who would have seen that coming? That was
But that's the thing. You can't see that coming. So, you want to plan for the future, but you don't know how the future is going to turn out.
Or you could draft Mitchell Trubisky or Trey Lance. And then, again, we're back to they're not sure things either. Yeah, you could save money, but you might torpedo your future by doing that.
Mm-hmm.
I would like to think that had the Packers had somehow ended up with the number one pick with the way they performed last year, that there would be no speculation at all about, we got to draft Caleb Williams. You just got to do it. No, you don't got to do it, actually. By the way, just for the record, where are you at right now? Should the Bears take out your fandom? Well, maybe put in your fandom. Should the Bears draft Caleb Williams, or should they keep Justin Fields and trade the pick for a
I think if I'm running the Bears, I draft Caleb Williams. My thing is, make sure you have a coaching staff that's not going to fit a square peg into a round hole. I think, honestly, that was a detriment to Justin Fields. I feel like if Justin Fields can... Oh, jeez. What are we doing here, man? What's going on now?
Is this April Fool's Day?
I don't know. But anyways, really quick, then we got to take a break.
Before we get cut off again by a blank EAS test.
Yeah. The thing that, if you're going to draft Caleb Williams, build around him. I feel like that was a detriment to Justin Fields. I feel like if Justin Fields is in an offense that builds around him, he would be more of a successful quarterback. Do what the Ravens did with Lamar Jackson. That's what I want. If I'm a Bears fan, it's like, okay, don't try to force him to do stuff that he's not that great at.
Right.
Just do that.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only thing I don't know if the Bears are capable of yet. So, all right, really quick break in case we get cut off again. Then we got some picks and predicts.
Okay.
Coming up here in just a couple minutes. Time for some picks and predicts brought to you by the Elbow Room. Let's just jump right into it. By the way, speaking of picks and predicts, you can now pre-register at our website for the Bracket Challenge. You can already pre-register for that. So just head to sportstalk1051.com, click on the fan cave, and start to pre-register. Less than 2 weeks from Selection Sunday, baby. Speaking of which, should we do some college basketball picks before we get to the UConn and Marquette game? Let's go.
Sure.
Tennessee, number 4 Tennessee at number 17 South Carolina.
Okay. I'm gonna go. Let's do the Gamecocks in a court storm.
Oh,
and
boy.
Get ready for the discourse tomorrow.
I'm going South Carolina, too.
Okay.
No court storm, though. No court storm. We were talking about them. Are we going to jinx them now? Number 20, BYU, taking on number 6, Iowa State.
I'll take Iowa State in the points.
Yeah, Iowa State's 7.5 favorites in this one. So I'm going to go Iowa State as well. Let's go then. UConn versus Marquette. UConn dominated them earlier. UConn favored by 5.5. It is in Milwaukee.
That's a good line. I'll take UConn, and they barely cover.
I'm going to take UConn, but it's not going to be a blowout like last time. UConn covers, but it won't be like last time.
Okay.
So let's go to World. Clippers taking on, I guess we got to throw them in there because they're really good at home, the Houston Rockets. Houston's 27-34 on this season, but they're 21-10 at home. They're awful. They stink on the road. So Clippers, 6.5-point favorites.
I know. I'll take the Clips, but they do not cover.
I'm going to take the Clippers. I do think they cover. We'll go Kings at the Lakers. Kings 34-26, 34-29. Lakers 2.5 points.
Like, I never know. Are the Lakers hot now, or are the Lakers in complete chaos?
This is what annoyed me, grinding my gears yesterday. There was a headline on Yahoo Sports, something about the dominant Lakers, with another victory. I'm like, wait, what? And I opened it, and they talked about their dominating win, which was by 11 points. I'm like, the Lakers are far from dominant, people. What? We're still on this?
It's an either or. Either they are definitively winning the championship this year, or
they already won theirs in season.
Or they might as well be like a lesser version of the Pistons. I don't know which is it.
Yeah.
And they are a little streaky this year. I'm going to take the Kings.
I'll take the Kings too. And then Bucks at Golden State. Golden State favored by 4.5.
Then now Golden State's going through another hot streak.
They just got blown out by the Boston on Sunday.
Then that happened too. I'm going to take the Bucks.
I don't think Giannis plays. I could be wrong, but we'll see.
That might make a difference.
It might. I'm going to go Milwaukee too.
Okay, I'll put a qualifier on this. Bucks win with Giannis. They don't without him.
Yeah, that's tough.
It's as simple as that. And I don't know what's going to happen for the game tonight.
Yeah.
You see, Peyton Manning is pursuing Bill Belichick for Omaha Productions.
Oh, God.
Got news from Andrew Marchand at The Athletic this morning.
To do a documentary or what?
Maybe just be part of it, I guess.
Okay. Why not? Why not?
Yeah, sure.
Yep. Hey, we only got about a minute left or so. DP, Dan Patrick I think this is a great poll question. Which has been more devalued over the years? Running backs, low post centers, base stealers.
Running backs, low post centers,
base stealers.
Base stealers.
I think that's a fantastic question.
I will say running backs. Base stealers are going to be going up because there are more stolen bases. That's become more valuable because of the rules changes.
I'm going to say low post centers.
But you see, I think the game is starting to eke back.
You need to shoot a 3 if you're a post center.
You do, but I think there's a bit more of a case for that now. Running backs, my gosh, like what?
Running backs, to me, you may devalue them in terms of like draft positioning and longevity, but they're still incredibly important in the game.
Well, okay, so is it devalued in terms of like contracts and such? Or
I think it's devalued in importance.
Okay, if that's the case, then I'm going to say the low post centers. If it's in terms of contracts, it's definitely the running
So I don't
backs.
think you necessarily are paying contracts for just base stealers. We don't have the Ricky Hendersons of the world.
Right. But there could be a case that could build its way back in. I can see that in the next fight. Maybe not to Ricky Henderson levels, but it's improving.
Gone are the days of the 90s NBA when it was Shaq and David Robinson and Patrick Ewing and the Dream, Rick Smits for crying out loud, and
Yeah.
George Mearson and Sean Bradley. Think about this. Sean Bradley or George Mearson were to play in today's game, they'd have to shoot a 3. Shaq maybe would have to shoot a 3.
Yeah.
Ain't happening. Low post centers, man.
One day.
I tried to emulate that so much. All right, have a good day. We'll be back tomorrow morning, 6 a.m.